Hey there, and welcome back to Start Adventuring, a channel dedicated to empowering new role players to break down their barriers and just start adventuring. I'm Baxter.
And I'm Ben. And in this video, Baxter and I are going to be over 3 tips for easing DM anxiety. Especially with new DMs, and for me as a DM who generally deals with anxiety in my life, it's easy to fall into a trap of worrying about whether the players are having fun, whether you're doing it correctly, how best to make sure that the table is going the way that everybody wants it to. And this can really get in the way of enjoying the game. So these are just 3 ideas for ways to help ease the situation for new DMs and new players and keep the game fun for everybody. And also just make sure that everybody knows that they are doing the best they can DMing the game.
The first thing we want to talk about is having open communication at the table. And specifically, too, like having a really open and developed session 0.
Yeah, this is advice that you'll hear all the time from pretty much anybody talking about Dungeons and Dragons, the importance of session 0s and the importance of communication. But I think often the focus, and I know Baxter and you and I have focused on this when we talk about session 0, the focus is often on the game and player expectations for the game and player expectations for their character. But I think it's equally important to focus on how feedback will be handled in the game and how talking about the process of running the game will be handled at the table. I think there's a lot of, especially in old school circles, there's a lot of focus on the DM being separate from the players. Baxter, I'm sure you've experienced that as well. But I think that session 0 is also a place to talk about, especially if you're a new DM, being upfront about, hey, I would like to know how it's going for you guys, even if you're putting into like a structured system for feedback at the table. Those are all things you can handle in session 0 as well as in-game considerations, right?
Right. Yeah. At the end of the day, to me, it's as simple as it is. You need to have as open communication at the table as possible.
Our second piece of advice is a piece of advice that really we say a lot here on the channel for various topics, but it's really applicable here. It's embrace a learn-as-you-go mentality to DMing. It's especially true for new DMs, but I think this is true at all levels of experience. Knowing that DMing the game, running the game is a process that's ongoing, and it's ongoing for each table too. There are many different ways to run the game, many different styles and genres of game you might run, and you can always learn from doing it, which means that you don't need to judge every single session extremely harshly and with this sort of perfectionist mindset, because at the end of the day, no matter how it goes, it's a lesson for you.
Right, yeah. But my point on this was that you shouldn't be afraid to have bad sessions, because at the end of the day, a bad session can just inform you on what the table is or is not interested in. Because there's a lot that can make a bad session, quote unquote, in a DM's eyes. But the true definition, in my opinion, of a bad session is one where nobody had fun. So there's definitely probably sour moments in campaigns or in maybe sessions as a part, but really it's not about that. It's about learning from it and focusing on the good and fun parts of the collaborative process.
Right, and if you're having open communication at the table, a session that's not as good as another session will be pretty apparent to everybody involved, which means you can learn from it. And being sensitive not only to the things you'd improve, but also the things that really work in sessions that you run can help you feel the ongoing growth of yourself as a DM, rather than fixating on some ideal of what a good DM is and becoming anxious about whether or not you're matching that, you know?
Agreed. Our last point is just remember to have fun. It can be really easy as a DM to fall into that anxiety and give in to, all of that pressure. As a DM, you are in some ways an island. You are outnumbered by your players and feel a greater responsibility to influence the game in a positive way. And I think the end result is just have fun with it. And I think the players will appreciate that. And as long as everyone's having fun, you've done your job.
Yeah. When you're in doubt or you feel like you're not getting the feedback that you're craving from your players, leaning into what is fun for you will improve the game. Because especially if you're doing the first piece of advice that we said and you're communicating with your players, no news is good news. So leaning into what's fun for you will elevate your experience of the game. And the good news about a collaborative, cooperative game like Dungeons and Dragons is that fun is contagious. So if you're not getting any negative feedback from your players and you're having fun and you feel that they're having fun, you can trust that. You can trust your own sense of fun. And hopefully that will help you in those moments of anxiety and wondering if you're doing it correctly or well enough.
All right, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this, go ahead and give it a like. And put in the comment section below, what is your best way for handling DM anxiety? We'd love to know and get that conversation going. And if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button. We want to know that you're there and interested in the content that we're making. And that is the best way to help us grow and really just let us know you're there.
Yeah, this is a subject that's near and dear to both our hearts, and we hope to keep making videos about topics like this. So, yeah, definitely let us know in the comments down below what you think of these tips and if you have your own. And if you feel like going the extra mile to support what we're doing here at Start Adventuring, we do have a Patreon that you can check out in the description down below. For just $1 a month, you can help us grow and support what we're doing here on YouTube and the other platforms where we're active. But thanks for watching this video. Until we see you again, I'm Ben.
And I'm Baxter. And remember, start adventuring.
Just start adventuring.